So all throughout his presidential campaign and even into his first year of his presidency, Donald Trump promised that he would do something about the opioid epidemic. Now, this is a crisis. It's been at crisis levels for a long time. 2016 was a horrific year for opioid deaths. Anywhere from 70 to 100 people are killed by overdose a day in America just from the opiates, right? Now, of course, this is driven mainly by not illegal drugs, right? No, it's driven actually by legal prescribed painkillers. These are things that you can get with a prescription. Just go to your pharmacist. You want the hard drugs? Go to your pharmacist, right? That's where you're going to get it. Now, look, the administration has not done a lot on this issue. I'm going to go over what they did, what they should do, and how to actually, in my opinion, beat this opioid epidemic. But first, I'm going to show you what the administration actually has done first. Now, President Trump had declared a public health emergency in October to deal with this epidemic. Now, unfortunately, the problem with that is that it brought no new money to fund the federal response. So there's no extra money to actually deal with this. Now, in November, President Trump announced that he's donating his third quarter salary, about $100,000, to help the Department of Health and Human Services fight opioids. I would like to see the receipts on that one because I don't trust him. Every time he said, oh, no, don't worry, I'm going to donate. Never happens. Ever. So, hey, man, you want to believe him? That's up to you, but I don't believe him at all. So, anyway. Now, he also had the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services announce a change in policy. Now, this will allow states to apply for waivers, allowing them to use Medicaid to pay for residential drug treatment at facilities that have more than 16 beds. Now, some states are already taking advantage of the policy change. So that's actually not bad. Using Medicaid funds to go and pay for opioid treatment. Wonderful. That's good. The only problem is we've actually cut, or the Trump administration actually wants to cut Medicaid funding and then put in work requirements for people on Medicaid. So, yes, while that would be a good change, the fact is that we're not funding Medicaid enough, and we're making it actually harder for people to get on Medicaid. All right. Now, President Trump also signed something called the Interdict Act in January that would give federal agents additional tools for detecting fentanyl and other synthetic opioids at the border. But see, the problem is that this is not happening at the border. This is happening at your local pharmacy. This is happening in towns in West Virginia that have 2,900 folks living in it that end up getting shipped 20 million pills over a period of 10 years. That's where it's happening. It's not happening at the border with Mexico. But that leads me to the response of what the ONDCP under Kellyanne Conway is doing. They're focusing on, oh, well, we need to build a wall to keep the drugs out. Well, that's not going to do anything. And her other thing is, get this, she's basically pulled a Nancy Reagan. Just say no, kids. Just say no to opiates. But wait, your doctor is the one that is prescribing these opiates. And your pharmacist is the one that's filling them. You just going to say no to that? Ridiculous. All right. So here's what they have not done. Right now, there still is no head of the Office of National Drug Control Policy. Again, the ONDCP, right? In October, Trump's nominee to the position, Representative Tom Marino, withdrew his name after reports linked him with a bill that limited the DEA's ability to investigate abuses by opioid manufacturers and distributors. So this guy, Marino, was like, no, we actually want to limit that power to go after corporations. When it was found out that he was going to be running the ONDCP, of course, that was incredibly embarrassing. So he's like, nope, can't do it. I got to go. Not only that, but President Trump doesn't have anybody running the DEA either. They also haven't asked Congress for any new funding. In fact, they've actually cut funding. Or have attempted to cut funding. We actually need billions and billions of dollars to actually try and solve this problem. Now, in the 2018 budget, the president recommended cutting the Office of National Drug Control Policy by 95%. Their budget gone, 95%. He might also ask again this year. And as I said before, Kellyanne Conway, who's running this, she is the drug czar. She's like, yeah, just say no, build the wall, and we're not actually going to do really anything. Now, there's another thing that they're doing that they should not do, and that is cracking down on kratom. Now, Kyle Kulinski from Secular Talk has actually been doing an amazing job documenting the war on kratom. In fact, there's some studies coming out today that are being obviously challenged by people who use kratom. Oh, it's got opioids in it. It's got opiates in it. What are we going to do? The kratom is dangerous. We better put it as a Schedule I drug. The thing is, okay, number one, the DEA last year tried to ban it. And they were not successful because of the pushback from people who actually take kratom. And now the FDA is after it, and they're trying to use bullshit studies to try to make it into a Schedule I drug. Now, kratom users, according to the Huffington Post, say that it's a safe and effective treatment for conditions like chronic pain, anxiety, and depression, as well as a replacement drug for opioid addiction. So why is the DEA, why is the FDA after it? Well, the DEA and the FDA, they're funded and controlled by people from the pharmaceutical industry. The pharmaceutical industry already has drugs out there for chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. Kratom will actually, and kratom is made from, I believe, a tea leaf, and it can be put in teas and things like that, or just be sold as a powder. Again, kratom is not illegal either, but they're trying to make it illegal because guess what? Kratom challenges their profits. We can't have anything out there that is actually proven to be safe and effective challenge our drugs. So that's why they're after kratom. Now, Schedule I, of course, you guys know, means that it's not only dangerous, but it has no medicinal value. But of course, there are new studies out there, scientific studies, that show that kratom is not only less dangerous than prescription drugs, but it also does have therapeutic value. So what people who use it, who swear by it, they're actually right. According to HuffPost, last year, researchers at Columbia published a study on mitragynine. Now, mitragynine is a chemical compound that is found in kratom that is the main chemical compound. It found that it activates opioid receptors without triggering respiratory depression. That, of course, is the side effect of narcotic painkillers. Now, what these, like the people that overdose from Oxycontins and things like that, they do so because it has respiratory depression. What it does, that's one of the side effects. Kratom didn't do that, but it still has the healing and medicinal values of those same medications. Now, the scientists concluded that drug makers could instead look to kratom to develop safer pain medications, or they could just not and keep kratom legal. So that's one of the problems, one of the things that they're doing absolutely wrong. Another thing is, of course, Jeff Sessions going after marijuana. Marijuana also has been shown in some studies to help people that are withdrawing from these heavier addictive prescription drugs. So Sessions, another war on marijuana. He's actually did a crackdown on places where they have legalized marijuana for not only medicinal but also recreational use. That means the Trump administration, essentially what they're focusing on is enforcement and not treatment at all. And so this is your typical right-wing response to a problem that isn't solved by more drug rates, right? No, what we need to do is we need to legalize marijuana, of course, all across the states. We need to leave kratom alone. We need to actually put money into, look, instead of putting more money into enforcement, let's actually take that money out of enforcement and put it into drug treatment options. And finally, we need to go after the pharmaceutical companies. That's one thing that is major because these pharmaceutical companies, they're the ones that create, market, pay off politicians, give kickbacks to doctors for overprescribing. They are the main problem, and they do this because it's more profit. They do this because They're a corporation, and their number one priority is not your health or well-being. No, their number one priority is to make money for their shareholders. They're looking out for their bottom line's health. So we've got to crack down on the companies that actually go after, or we should actually go after these companies that make this problem worse. That's what Bernie Sanders was talking about the other day when he testified, or not testified, but when he called on Congress to look into these companies and to hold these companies accountable so that we can actually solve this problem and ensure that we don't have another epidemic like this one ever again. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.